Patch 11.15 is a little bit different in that it's actually quite large, but it's weird. There's a lot to it, there's a lot that'll change how you play, though part of it's going to land a month after launch. So in this video, you're going to learn everything you need to know, the new features, the patch day experience, changes to your UI, and what the later content, like Horrific Visions, is actually like to play based on our experience on the PTR, and even a little bit of what's rather curiously missing. So that's what we're doing, let's get straight into it. First things first, Nightfall. In this, you'll fight back a renewed invasion from the Sureki. They're basically the die-hard Ansurek loyalists. And to best them, the Arathi have established Flames Radiance, which is an elite unit that you join, and you're tasked with two vital roles. Number one, to defend the eastern shores of Hallowfall from hourly assaults, and two, to embark on daily incursions, either defending against Sureki forces or actually assaulting their land. And in in-game terms, what this basically means is you get a mini renown, there's an hourly event, and then there are sets of daily quests. As you do these, you'll rise the ranks with the Flames Radiance faction, which basically is a renown. As you do that, you'll earn some of the best titles that we've kind of ever seen in the game, things like Stalwart, Ardent, Arrow Knight, and Sacred Templar, along with you getting some proper cool-looking Arathi tabards that actually level up in their appearance as you gain renowns. And you'll also get a continent-wide buff, which is called Sacred Flames Ward, and that will also grow with your rank with that faction. Plus, of course, it's World of Warcraft, so you'll get gear. This overall is a solid source of eye-level 632 veteran gear for your alts, and so far, it seems you get one piece of that gear with every completion of the event, which basically means once an hour. Then there's also a weekly quest that drops a Radiant Emblem of Service. This is tradable for a piece of Warbound 636 champion gear, which is extremely useful. It's a piece of gear of your choice for an alt, which is dead handy. So that's the event. The next thing then is the incursions. These are sets of daily quests, they spawn in the incursion area, and they'll award you with gear, crystals, valor stones, weathered crests, and most importantly of all, a shot at this real cool looking void-scarred lynx mount. And the transmog you get from this is honestly quite fantastic. It's this purple variant of the Hallowfall set, and there's also a classic Argent style white and black version. Very cool, but overall, I do want to set your expectations with this. So what it is basically is like the Dragonflight Time Rift, but it's themed around the Arathi, and there's a little more to it, and also the daily quests. And that means from a pure gameplay perspective, if you're a raider or a big mythic pluser, this is not going to be thrilling, but you are actively fighting the bad spiders in the front lines with the Arathi NPCs. It all looks and sounds very cool. Essentially, it nails the fantasy. And once you finish the objectives, a boss spawns in, so everyone regroups, and you rush into the boss with a rallying cry, and honestly, from a pure fantasy perspective, it is honestly kind of hype. Those little things do matter. There's also fun little touches like the gear that you get having set bonuses, which are themed around either the Arathi Flame or the Order of the Knights Void Worship. Basically, I'd say theme matters in an MMORPG, and this does in fact nail that. So overall, it manages to feel quite fresh, and it's perfectly timed for the humongous army of alts that you'll be able to level up with our next feature. The Winds of Mysterious Fortune event is going to be live for a month, and it actually gives you more than just the flat 20% XP buff, though that buff is there. If you just want to go and spam dungeons with it, you absolutely can, but Blizzard clearly want to diversify the leveling experience a little bit. So what they've done is they've added loot bags to mobs in the outdoor world. Those bags can contain a whole bunch of things, but most importantly, 10% XP potions. That'll give you a total of 30% bonus XP, and if you pair that with the Darkmoon Fair buff, you'll have 40% in total, which is pretty awesome. And what I'd recommend you do the most is actually the side quests. You see, you'll get tons of those potions as you do that content, but also a ton of reputation. And that matters because this event actually triples your Dragonflight rep gains and your War Within ones. That's for the big renown factions. It doesn't include the Undermine factions, but basically it is loads and loads of renown. So if you're already capped, you'll get loads of Paragon bags. If you're not, well, you do want to be capped with those renowns. When they're maxed out, it does actually mean that all of your alts get to start their season 2 with an absolutely ginormous surge of crests, which basically means you can go and craft yourself a shitload of gear. So that's really good, and all of that crafted gear, of course, will augment perfectly with the Nightfall world event stuff. Though, of course, if you just want to stack up those XP bonuses and say wait for a time walking week to just crack out loads of levels by doing loads of dungeons, you can absolutely do that, and it will be blazing fast. So that's the Winds of Mysterious Fortune event, and it will last for a month. The final thing that you can do in patch day then is retiring your weak auras with a humongous asterisk. So essentially the new cooldown manager feature is entering the game, and it will give you a way to track your key buffs and cooldowns without having to move your bars into the middle of the screen or use a weak aura pack, right? So that's really good. It's something people have wanted for such a long time. Right now it's a little limited, and it does have some frustrating flaws like not having a centered option, but look, as an add-on-less in-game setup, it's actually pretty darn good. For a lot of people, this will basically be what they need. Now, some specs may have a better time than others. Of course, we'll have a full video about making the absolute best possible zero add-on World of Warcraft setup. We'll do that just after the patch launch to see how it actually fares in the real world. The good news is Blizzard have said they will continue to make this better and better as the patches roll on. And if you want to try this, it's really easy to access. You just flick open the edit mode in the in-game menu and you mark it on there. Fairly easy, and it does mark a fairly huge commitment from Blizzard. Now that this is in World of Warcraft as a baseline, like core piece of functionality, Blizzard essentially has got to make sure that it's always updated to support any incoming class changes. That's a big commitment, but it's one I expect will actually be good for the game. I mean, as an example, it should help the class designers from making like too many hard to track buffs, because if they're doing something completely unhinged and crazy, this UI will make it very apparent that, well, it's simply too much. Okay, that's it for major day one patch content, but there's actually a whole ton of smaller changes to note, and of course the biggest feature is actually coming later. Let's blast through the smaller day one features. Now, I say this is a small change, but it's actually kind of huge because they're doubling how much rep you get with the Goblin cartels in Undermine. Now, to be clear, this is not the overall renown of Undermine, it's the individual reps with every single cartel. Those are the ones that give you car colors, transmogs, and toys. And honestly, this is good. It was sorely needed. The total time to actually max all of these was something like half a year. It was really crazy, so that's very good. And if you're a collector, there's actually more good news, because next, all of the Shadowlands reputations, though not the Covenants, are becoming warband wide. So if you've swapped characters or you just wanted to go back and pick up anything on your alts, this stack of reputations will just be set to the highest from amongst all of your characters. That could actually unlock a lot of new things for you. And also in a similar vein, a lot of BFA and Shadowlands currencies are going to be made warband wide. So from BFA, that's the 8.2 and 8.3 currencies. And from Shadowlands, it's our old favorite, Stygia. Yeah, how exciting. Still, it's worth heading back to buy any rewards that you may have missed out on, but now can actually unlock and will probably be able to afford. Some other systems are changing as well. As an example, if your guild feels like it really has a bad name, the good news is you can chip in some gold and you can change it without having to spend real money. It costs 200k, that will let you change your in-game guild name, but there is a tiny bit of a cooldown. And by tiny, I mean an entire year. There is more as well. As an example, we've got now a shopping cart for the trading post, which basically means you can multi-buy items instead of the very laborious one-by-one clicking that we had to do. And if you've got issues with color perception, this is actually really cool. You can now edit the in-game item quality colors, so if they just don't really work for your eyes, you can set them to something that does. And finally, we've got two things for class visual. So Arms Warrior, good news. Your Warbreaker has actually got a new visual. It's happened again, and this time they've removed all of that intellectual magic bollocks, and they've just changed the effect to simply be very big slam, which perfectly fits them. And if you're a non-elf marksmanship hunter, also good news. There may be something cool. Basically, there's a data mined glyph. It's called the Glyph of Strix, and it will turn your spotting eagle into a spotting owl. Now, sadly, the glyph doesn't appear to be actually hooked up in the game files yet, so it may not come in this patch. It might come in the 0.7 patch that will follow it up, but basically, it seems that's on the horizon. But okay, that is your day one patch major and minor features, but that's not all that this patch will hold, so let's talk about the future. For many of us, me included, Horrific Visions Revisited actually is the main feature of this patch. We'll do a real in-depth explainer and guide closer to the actual release, but basically, if you're into hard gameplay, this is the big thing that's coming in this patch. Okay, so Horrific Visions was a BFA feature that some of us loved, but a lot of people did hate. And they did hate for very fair reasons. It wasn't because it was bad, it was because it was necessary for progress, and to actually do them, you had to grind weeklies and dailies to get keys, and it was stupidly punishing. So if you messed up and you got booted out with no rewards, it would eat up your key, and you just have to wait till next week. It absolutely blew. The good news is this version is nothing like that. You can just go in as much as you want for a start. There's no keys for entry or anything like that. It's also got a fairly chunky weekly reward. In fact, it's all the way up to 4 out of 6 hero gear, so that'll be properly useful for your characters. Blizzard have also rebalanced it, and there's an NPC companion who is there to aid solo players. Of course, you can still solo it without that NPC if you want, it's just there as an option. The power progression upgrades are also way faster and way easier than they were in BFA, so it's not going to take you that long to power up enough to start doing 5 mask runs. Basically, the masks are optional difficulty multipliers. They will basically make it harder and give you better rewards, and Blizzard have even added 3 new masks for even more difficulty, and if you really want to, you can activate all 8 masks. And if you do an 8 mask solo run, which will take some serious skill and practice, you'll unlock a new title, The Mad, which really does seem like it's one worth grinding out. And for the collectors, it's jam-packed with stuff, so we've got the new Voidfire Death Cycle, there are Void versions of a whole ton of existing mounts, and overall it's a fairly easy and fun way to get loads of rewards that you may have missed back in BFA. And that actually includes the first backpack that Blizzard ever added to World of Warcraft. So overall, this is an absolutely terrific feature. It's a bit of a shame that there'll be a wait till we get it, but look, it's actually worth that wait. I think this thing is great. Anyway, that's not the only thing. Much later, so much so later that I almost want to call it a patch 11.1.7 feature, but we will be getting a new world event that's coming up in the rotation. This event is called Dastardly Duos, and it's actually not active until June 3rd. It's quite a while. What this event is a score attack based killing trash and killing old classic bosses sort of thing, and it all takes place in the Demolition Dome of Undermine. And honestly, it's one of the craziest ideas WoW has had for gameplay in a long time. I mean, it's called Dastardly Duos, but you can actually summon up to 4 bosses at the same time to fight at once, which is kind of mad. And basically, the harder you make life for yourself and your group via optional difficulty stuff, the more score you will get, of course, as long as you don't die in the process. To be honest with you, it's genuinely fun. It's a unique mode. It is not like anything World of Warcraft has had before. If you have people around you who truly love like mastery and aiming for high scores in video games, you will love this. And if that kind of high-end, maybe harder stuff doesn't really take your fancy, it's at least a decent way to farm up some Warbound gear, and it's got an albino turtle mount as a reward for clearing the final quest in the last week that it's active. And with that mentioned, that's actually it for this patch. Now, before I let you go, there are 2 notable things missing from this patch. The first one is dinars. Those are the catch-up currency that is supposed to let you pick a raid item instead of just farming for them. Basically, they're really cool for alts, really cool for like just nailing your build. People expected them. They were supposed to be there in 11.1. They ended up not being. Blizzard then said that something would happen soon. Ian actually promised in an interview with Nagura that they would be in this patch, but there's been no hint of them on the PTR, and up until now there had been silence. That's where things have changed though, because all of the outward worry has forced a response from Blizzard. Over in the forums they posted that they've actually not forgotten about this, and they will share more details soon after the patch goes live. Definitely keen to see what that is. The last thing that's missing then is also unusual for a minor patch in Modern WoW, and that is class changes. There are 0 in this patch, though I've got to imagine there's a reason why, and I think that reason is that 11.1.7 will probably have plenty of class changes. At any rate, we'll know soon. I actually expect 11.1.7 to hit the PTR shortly after 11.1.5 releases, so we'll basically understand what's coming very soon. And if you want to get a handle on where that patch will actually push us, and to understand the lore that just happened and how it all connects, watch this video next.